Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs,
And I'm David Woldingen.
and today we're going to take a look at Mizzou as they come back home to face the Kentucky Wildcats. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Side note, I'm a little under the weather, so if my voice seems a little off, that's why. Apologies for having to listen to my sick voice. But here we go. David, Mizzou is coming off back-to-back wins, and what I would say is probably the biggest win of the Drinkwitz era, a 23-10 win down in Columbia, South Carolina.
I don't know if I call it the biggest one, but I call it probably one of the more important wins because it keeps the season alive.
Yes. Yeah, and with Kentucky, it's a new challenge. You look at Missouri's offense. Let's start there because that was the story of the Carolina game was changes that got made and an offensive line that looked competent. South Carolina's defense, not the same thing as going against this Kentucky defense. Um, this defense for Kentucky statistically is almost a mirror image of Missouri in terms of scoring defense and just numbers wise. It'll be interesting to see, David, if Missouri can do the same thing they did to Carolina, which was just solid against a legit defense like Kentucky.
Yeah, and I think the biggest key comes straight at our quarterback position with Brady Cook. Can he make proper decisions throwing the ball, not to put it in harm's way? And can he make good decisions with the zone read runs that we were doing? He had a good 5 or 6 pullbacks on the read option that were fantastic in the South Carolina game that we haven't seen all year. So if he can continue to make improvements in that area of the game, I think Mizzou could move the ball. I'm not going to say they're going to go down the field and score a couple times, but they can keep possession of the ball a little bit and maybe produce some type of offense to help our defense out.
Yeah, Brady Cook against Carolina, the ball was never in danger. There were no throws that I thought, oh, here we go, when it was in midair. And when you look at your zone reads and Brady Cook's decision making, I feel like at least once or twice a game throughout the season, you watch him keep the ball and get smoked immediately and just make the wrong decision. That did not happen against Carolina. He made some great reads, faked the cameraman out at least once that I can think of. And the entire stadium thought that the Gamecock defense had a third down stop. Meanwhile, Brady Cook is 5 yards down past first down marker. Um, yeah, it's important for this offense to not get cocky, which, as terrible as they've been all season, seems ridiculous, but understand it was a step forward. But now if they can do that exact same thing against this Kentucky defense, now you've got something, right? Because Kentucky is a legit defense, which Carolina is not.
And talking about Kentucky defense, I know we were
Oh
talking
boy.
before we filmed, Eric. They have quite a lot of injuries, especially after that Tennessee game. The whole team just seems kind of beat up.
Yeah.
Um, you have the list over there. I don't know if you want to read off those names.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, this thing, I thought a sticky note like this was going to be enough. And then I just kept going and going. My handwriting got real little to get is filled up because every team has, kind of everybody's kind of banged up. Kentucky's really banged up, particularly on the defensive side of the football. So you look at linebacker. Jacquez Jones has been out since leaving the game against Ole Miss, hadn't played since. So there's one linebacker out. No word on him returning, so wouldn't expect him. DeAndre Square left the game early against Tennessee, came back, tried to give it a go, couldn't do it. Listed official. Well, on Monday, Mark Stoops called him doubtful, not on the depth chart, on crutches. That's a fifth year senior. Jones is a team captain. that's two linebackers right there gone. That I don't think we're going to see on Saturday morning. Then you look at, let's see, Kentucky's top free safety, Jalen Geiger. He's out for the year. You look at, let's see, they've got a defensive tackle who hurt his back against Tennessee. Uh, no word on him. He's day to day. So Mark Stoops called everybody day to day except for DeAndre Square, who got hurt in the Tennessee game. That also includes Kentucky offensively. So Will Levis, quarterback, he's been battling some multiple injuries. He had turf toe. They weren't sure if he was going to play against Mississippi State. And then for the second time this season, he had his shoulder iced up, left shoulder, non-throwing shoulder. Not sure what happened in the Tennessee game against Mississippi State. He basically got sacked and landed on it. He left the game. They took X-rays, negative, all that. So he went back in. The quote from him, and this is beautiful. It's my left shoulder, so who cares? That's beautiful. So I don't know that it's anything that's going to necessarily be an impact in how well he plays, but he's not 100%. Chris Rodriguez, their starting running back, he left the game against Tennessee in the second half. So no real word on him. And then receiver Chris Lewis, he also got hurt against Tennessee. So besides getting beat up on the scoreboard 44-6, Kentucky physically got beat up at Tennessee. That's I don't know, man. That's a lot going on for a team, David, that was, spent some time in the top 10.
Yeah. And they're what? They've lost 3 out of their last 4. Their last win was against Mississippi State at home. And we were talking their best win probably is the Florida game because it was at Florida.
Depending on how much you put it on, a road win versus home win and all that. Mississippi State at home or at the Swamp, take your pick for Kentucky's best win. I do think the ranking when they got up to 7 was probably a little inflated because they got that high by beating Florida, who, looking back, it's hilarious. They were ranked 12th. They beat Utah. Oh, rank them 12th. Well, they're 1-4 in the SEC. So that was kind of silly. But Kentucky benefited from that, spent some time in the top 10. They're beat up, but they're still good. Their defense, they held Ole Miss to 22 points. It was a losing effort, but holding Ole Miss to 22 is good. And then it's just kind of gone downhill from there. Will Levis did not play against South Carolina, and they were a train wreck offensively. And then they beat Mississippi State, and then Tennessee was just a complete disaster for the Wildcats. When you look at their offense, Chris Rodriguez running the football is the feature back, but don't forget about Kavoisi Smoke. David, one of the best names in the SEC. Feels like he's been around for about 15 years now.
Yeah, so just a few stats. Rodriguez has 87 of the attack carries given for 459 yards, averaging 5.3 yards per carry. And then Smoke has 55 carries for 275 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. So, I mean, the production's there for both of those guys, which is nice for Kentucky because now you have 2 backs that can throw at you and stay fresh on the field, if you will.
Yeah, the challenge for the Kentucky offense is going to be with their offensive line, which is a bit of a change. You're used to them being pretty reliable. But Kentucky has allowed 30 sacks. That is a lot. That's a lot. And they are averaging, let me see, I'm going off the top of my head. This is from Dave Matter's article. They're giving up 3.8 sacks per game, Kentucky is. That is the most given up by an SEC team since Missouri joined the conference in 2012. So DJ Coleman, Missouri defensive line, get ready. if the stats aren't lying to us, then there should be plenty of opportunity to be chasing Will Levis and see if they can't knock him out of the game.
Well, and unlike previous Kentucky teams, this team throws the ball a lot more than the other teams used to.
Yeah.
So they have way more passing attempts than they do rushing attempts, actually. So the opportunity is going to be there to get after Will Levis.
Yeah, it's weird with him, Kentucky having first round caliber quarterback. But hey, here we are. And Missouri saw him last year. They know what he's capable of. But David, moving into our predictions, with both teams, Kentucky being beat up and just not good offensively, Missouri just being terrible most of the season offensively and maybe figuring something out to be competent. This game has first to 20 wins written all over it. I'll say this. If the over under stays above 40, absolutely hammer the under, in my opinion. Missouri's going to be game. The offense will look better, at least against decent competition. I don't think it'll be enough though. I'm going to have Kentucky winning 17-13. Ugly game.
Well, and on the note of thinking defenses are going to be everything in this game, on top of the fact that there's a storm system rolling through Friday night, possibly maybe up to game time, it's going to be a real windy game. So I think the passing game is going to be knocked out a little bit, potentially. I'm actually going the other way, and I think there's going to be a little more scoring than you expect. I'm picking Mizzou 24-21. Mainly one of the reasons is it's at home, and they're only about 1,800 tickets away from selling out. So
Yeah.
I think the crowd's going to show up and be loud. I think for whatever reason they've shown up every game this year, which is awesome for the football team in itself.
Props
And
to
also,
the AD on that one.
yeah, and awesome to a fan base in general for coming out. And plus, these games have all been really good games to watch, in all honesty, except for the blowout against Kansas State, and we'll just forget that one. But I think it's going to be all in all a real close, really good game. The spread in Vegas is -1 Kentucky right now, but it's been moving all over the place. So
it's on your book. I've heard of people finding spreads where Mizzou the 1 point favorite. It's all over the place in that real narrow area.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a really, really fun game to watch. Hopefully we'll get to see a real entertaining game, and Eric's going to have the breakdown after the game. So make sure you come back, watch that, check us out, and keep an eye on us for future Mizzou news as basketball season's getting ready to start up here soon too. Until then, thanks for watching Under the Arch Sports.